My name is Jonathan Parks, and welcome to Jonathan's Nature Crafts. I must inform you that I do not live in this house by myself, but live here with other people. Sometimes other members of the household may have to walk through areas where I might be recording with other family members on the phone. If you hear any noise like that, please feel free to disregard. We are doing our best to get noise canceling equipment, which may at least keep you from hearing exactly what is being said. Thank you for considering. Okay, so I say as all things we come down to this little way of doing just little things like this, and I say just what it all comes down as a little bit of work to make what we see and take it a little step or two further. So we're gonna turn this camera down an angle and kind of try to see if we can work the rest of the way into this and come down to where we just got the knife right in a place where we can cut a little line down here, make the little seam where it's gonna pop out a little bit, just show a little ruffle down around the end of the skirt. I say with what we have, it's just kind of the work we see in our place to do a little experiment of all things with our kind of diligence. I say diligence is just what it takes. Sometimes these days, we become hard-working people, and I say that this is just one of those things that helps you deal with a lot. And I'll tell y'all that for the same little step, make a line out to the very sides here, kind of just trim along little bitty ways, make it so the skirt is going to be fine and free and dandy to take care of all graces and all happenings. I say with all things, it's just kind of the little bit of work we see come into our piece where we just kind of shine our light down to heavens and just move our way in. Oh, I say glorious days shall come and go. Where they stop, no one knows. I would just kind of like to say that maybe it'd be nice to have many of y'all, more y'all pray, have things happen according to thy will. And I say, God has a good work in this. He works mysteriously in all things, kind of where we sort of make the little cuts along the edge. See how old Saint Nick is going to turn out in his good little ways, to see how just a little bit of extra work shall make a way in and do what it shall come to do. I say, it's just one thing that does a little bit of extra work along the way. It's just kind of how we're going to see what we do when we come along the front here and have that little line to do. They even say in the book that you can carve this entirely with a knife and have it take a little longer. That probably is, for the most part, what I like to do, especially when it comes to carving these little figures out of the harder woods. That's kind of one of those things where, as much as I've had fixations on old Saint Nick and all the legends and stories and tales about him, that's kind of the reason why I like to carve so many different versions of him and all the little folklore that comes along in all the legends that are told about him, because he's just kind of the figurative character that gives us a little interesting view of life, come down to an image that shines for ourselves, brightens our days. And oh, I tell y'all that sometimes, just sometimes, schedules get a little different from one person to the next as far as how things go, but I appreciate even the community I have online that I can sometimes chat with and talk about random things with, and all the little random things we like to share about life and our ways and all we do. Some people are aware what a memory I have. I like to say that when it comes down to this, we've rounded everything off and left this kind of rectangular down here, but before we work on that, let's try to at least get a couple more of these skirts carved out on a few more of these figures. And I say just removing extra lines is really doing us some very much good, just to kind of see what we work in our lives to make. And I'd say we just chip that off, but it's going to be okay, because that's what we're going to do anyway when it comes down to what we do later. So we kind of got a little cutting off there to do. Oh, little chiplings removing and taking things out of level. Oh, work is just kind of one thing we see. Think about that old woodcutter in that story about old Little Red Riding Hood, how his axe came down on the wolf and chopped him. Oh, I say, and of all things, you know, stories come and go in many styles, many forms. Folk tales are retold in many different ways. Many different characters make up the different versions of the tales and all the things that are just said. Oh, I say that stories shall be all things we say in life, just to bring beginning to end to beginning, and of all we know, just one thing is for certain: God is in control of all things. Things don't really happen coincidentally, because He makes a way for it all. I say that we kind of come down to where we sort of just put a little extra time making our little ways into the little skirt, just to kind of put our fashion to the test and make it so a little better version of Saint Nick shall come out for our vision. I say, oh, like, imagine what it's like to kind of have 20/20 eyesight. I've had it for many years, but I tell you, these days, things have changed a lot. I wear a pair of Dollar Tree readers just to read some things now, because I'm getting older and my vision's not quite the same, but I used to see 2020 for all the years of my life. I could always just see things real clearly, sometimes even read in the dark, work in the dark, read small print, strange little actions that have words and consequences to us, you know. And I say, come down a bit. The skirt is here and the skirt is empty. I say, just working down to the trash. It's just kind of like one little sentiment after another, after another. And of all things, I say, I could pray that even after I pass away, some of these little carvings could still serve as little monuments to other people in life and what they come to see and to say and to know of all things. I'd like to share some more thoughts about this, little ways we come about to make one little carving after another after another. It's almost like my hands can work like a factory machine to kind of build little characters and take them further ways. Sometimes you get to where you do things a little bit faster. The longer you stay at them, the more you get used to the same old pattern with all your practice and what you come down to doing with it. And there we go, just one more round off skirt. And with this little other thing we have, just make a little thing along the back, just make a little another cut along the other side just to get a little V cut in there, kind of move along, make little slices and cuts in the wood and all the things we see we got here. And I'd say we just cut off another piece, but that's okay because we're going to come back and round that off anyway and try to get a little extra removed all around to make so we see just a little good character of a good old Saint Nick to come in our lives and tell us all we got so much in us and through us and to us. And I say, just a lot of work is here involved. Kind of take it along where we're going to make this other line here, make another line the other way, go right through it so old Saint Nick knows just what to say, just what to do. I say that little kind of work shows in our lives, and this is what we have for one little good character of a creature, I say, and it's all just going to be one little world we're going to take in our lives, make a little Saint Nick just to be a fashion among us to do the things that he did, make little gifts for good girls and boys, and oh I say, kinda chipping along, like there used to be an old wood carving magazine called Chip Chat. I can't remember if I had a copy of that or not, but I do know I have had some wood carving magazines that I've probably gotten a pattern out of a time or two. That was kind of where I got a certain pattern for a certain chess set that I carved once, and probably still have that chess set put away somewhere, but never tried to sell it because I knew that to make the board for it would just be a lot of work. And with my lack of experience, I'd say I used poplar and butternut, and among the poplar pieces, the problem was that some of the poplar was darker than the others, and it was hard to tell that all the pieces were on the same side or belonged to the same player, because, you know, it was all dependent on where in the tree the poplar was. They suggested in the book that you used bass and butternut, but I used poplar and sassafras instead. It is easier carving woods, and tried to make the board out of poplar and sassafras, and it didn't work, so that ended up actually becoming a little gate for a Daniel in the Lion's Den display. So I say that it's been good to talk to you all here. A little time, a little work, just working along the way, getting up all the dadgum chips and sweeping them off of ourselves. Just make a little work come a little more ways. And with all things, I say, little chips scatter everywhere, and they're going to make a mess, but we'll get them all swept up, get them all thrown away. They'll go probably to the landfill and probably kind of fertilize the ground a little bit, get burnt or buried or something like that, go back to the earth. So I say that I appreciate you all coming on to watch, to keep up with my wood carving and woodworking and everything. I wish you all the best. Hope you all will always keep in touch. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. I hope to see you in the next video. Stay tuned.